Welcome back. Now, one of those declared wanted by the military in connection with the brutal murder of 17 military personnel at Okwama community in Delta State has turned himself in to the police. Clement Ikolo Ogenerukewe, traditional ruler of Ewu Kingdom, Unugali South local government area of Delta State, reported to the police hours after the military published the list of wanted persons. The Delta State Police spokesperson Bright Edafe confirmed Ogenerukewe's surrender now on Friday and said the monarch turned himself in on Thursday. The defense headquarters had Thursday declared Ogenerukewe among 8 persons wanted in connection with the murder of the military personnel. Now, here is what the newly installed monarch said after turning himself in.
Based on the news that came to say I'm wanted, I know nothing about this heinous crime. I'm the traditional ruler. Yes, I'm the traditional ruler of a Burubo kingdom. However, I know nothing about it.
Now, the development comes shortly after President Bola Tinubu gave the Nigerian military full authority to bring those behind the killing of the 13 soldiers and 4 military officers to justice. Now, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, vowed that those behind the death of the military personnel in Delta State would be hunted down. The slain military personnel have since been laid to rest at the National Military Cemetery in Abuja, and may God rest their souls. Let's discuss some of the fallouts from the sad and unfortunate incident now. Joining me on the show is Temitope Olodo, who is a preventive terrorism consultant, and also joining us, I should say, is Oluwaseyi Fadaini, security analyst. Now, both men, of course, joining us from the United Kingdom. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on the program. And let me start with you, Mr. Olodo. How significant is it that one of those declared wanted now has turned himself in?
Hey, at the end of the day, they would definitely have to turn themselves in anyway, because there is no place to run to. Actually, the whole Nigeria has become a prison. I think it's significant that the individuals have, put themselves forward, handed themselves, to the appropriate authority, and is not being hunted down and killed, so that at least we could know or hear his own side of the story, which of course is what is now happening. But it's not the only one. We also have a professor of physics, and this more or less illustrates the kind of challenges and complexity that goes with security issues and security operations in Nigeria at the moment. My hope and prayer is that I was a bit concerned. I know the military have already illustrated and explained that they will hunt the individuals down. But in line with the Nigerian constitution, the only authority or enforcement authority that has the power to prosecute this kind of incident is the Nigerian police. So for the individuals to hand themselves over to the Nigerian police and then the Nigerian police hand them over to the military is a bit of a concern for me. I would have thought that the police, in conjunction with the military, will conduct the interview. The individual will have his lawyer, and then he will be detained by the police and then presented before the court.
Maybe the military still has to conclude its own investigation. Maybe the military still has to conclude its investigation before handing back to the police for prosecution. But that's just by the way. Let me come to you. I'll come to you, Fadani. You look at. Are you surprised that up till this moment, as we speak, that professor? Because for me, it's a big surprise that a professor was named among those wanted. But are you surprised that up till this moment, the professor has not turned himself in?
Yeah, well, when I saw the list and I saw a professor of physics, I was surprised myself, because one would expect that the professor will be the first person to surrender himself in and say his own side of the story. But as it is, nobody is above the law, and crime is like anybody is prone to crime. So I'm not really surprised about this.
Truth is, you look at all of this, all of the people who were listed. You look at all of them, and let's not forget there's also a female among them. You look at all of them. There are some one could say may not turn themselves in? When you look at that list, for instance, say, for instance, the suspected chief mastermind of this attack, do you expect that at some point he would turn himself in?
Well, as it is now, there is no hiding place. So I believe it might take a matter of time. He will surely turn himself in, because the monarch has actually turned himself in. And I expected the monarch to have, like, immediately the issue happened, like, he should be the first person to go to the police station and say, look, this is what is happening in my domain, and this is what I know. These are the people I know that are involved. But instead of him to run away, and after some while, after he has been declared wanted, coming back to say his own side of the story, like, nobody we want to believe him, because in the first instance, he should be the person to like call the police, like, this is what is happening in my domain. This is what has happened. What can we do? What is the way forward? You understand? But immediately this thing happened, like, everybody disappeared. And when he has learned that they've declared him wanted, and that is when, like he started coming out and said his own side of the story. So as it is very hard to believe him. Though I'm not saying he is guilty, like, or if he has committed any crime, but this thing happened in your domain. Like, you should be the first person to like take responsibility and call the appropriate authority, like, this is what is happening. What is the way forward? What can we do?
Temitokwe, you would expect that when things like this, when things go wrong in a community or when there's a crisis, the elders, the traditional leaders of that community should be able to intervene and resolve the problem. Why? Could you help us understand why it was difficult, for instance, for the elders of this community, the leaders, the community leaders of this community, why they were unable to even stop this from happening in the first place?
I think the reason is the Nigerian factor. The way it has happened, the Ife Modern Keke incident in Guzo and other places. There is this impunity in Nigeria that, we either have the ears of the army, we have the ears of the police, we know a big man, we could do whatever we want to do, and nobody, will face justice. And that has always been the challenge. And we know, even though, some of these individuals are running helter-skelter to run away from the environment, because of the history of Nigeria, again, the Nigeria factor, it's always presumed that the military will come in to take revenge. But of course, we need to promise the nation that they will not take the law into their hands, they are law-abiding. And we've seen that at least so far, they've conduct themselves in a professional manner, and they're handling the issue. And my hope is that will be taken forward. I'm hoping that community leaders across Nigeria will use this as a test case to know that when incidents are happening, and things like this are happening, they need to work across parties. And I don't see why land dispute issues of community concerns leads to people killing each other. It doesn't happen anywhere else. It should not happen in a democratic society. And we need to put a stop to it. And that's the reason why I'm pleased that these individuals are coming forward. And I'm pleased that they're not being hunted and killed, but they're rather, they hopefully one after the other, they'll start giving themselves up. And then we could know the true story of what happened. Because what we have is one side of the story, an unfortunate incident that led to the death of 17, gallant soldiers, and may their soul rest in perfect peace. But it's our hope that we'll be able to unloose this, this whole incident, or mask it, and know exactly what happened and what led to their untimely death. And the individuals involved should definitely face justice in line with the Nigerian Constitution.
And we're not just talking about just killing here, Father Ani. We're not just talking about, it's not as if these military personnel were shot and just killed, but they were decapitated as well. Decapitated, heads chopped off, stomachs torn open, and all of that. The question you begin to ask yourself is, why would anybody go to that extent of carrying out that kind of brutal murder? What exactly could push people to go to that level?
Oh, it is so barbaric, and and I hope one or two lessons have been learned from this incident, because at the end of it all, like, what lessons have been learned? So over time and for years uh, before now, the issue of land dispute has been like a common thing all over the world, and as we are well aware of the issue of Israel and Palestine and all of that. So the issue of land dispute has been a matter of concern over the years all over the world. But then when there's issue of land dispute, who are the people involved in the resolution? So then we talk about the community leaders, the religious leaders, the state government, and that kind of cases are being handled by the court. But now involving the military is a discussion for another day, because looking into their rules of engagement, the military are not versatile, they are not trained in that aspect of dispute resolution, especially that relates to land. So that is a lesson to be learned for another day, and I hope one or two lessons are learned, like I've said. So, but killing a military men, 17 for that matter, to the extent of decapitating their bodies, like, is very barbaric, and I never wish this to happen to my enemies, not to talk of the people that are like putting their lives on the line to save of the masses, like, for the nation. So it is really, really, really terrific.
And we're talking about military personnel with families, with wives, children, brothers, sisters. It's heartbreaking. Timitokwe, this heroes, because as far as I'm concerned, they are heroes. They've been buried, and of course, you heard the president. How important is it that the president would make that announcement, not just ask, for instance, awarding scholarship to all of their children, providing houses for their family members anywhere at all in the country that they want, also conferring posthumous national honors on them, and asking the military authorities to ensure that their entitlements are settled within 90 days. How important is that, especially for morale, for the morale of the officers that we have?
It's very profound. I felt like crying when I actually heard, those words being pronounced. The reason being that I'm one of those very strong critic of the Nigerian state in the way in which we handle our fallen heroes. I'm one of those that believe that the flag in not Downing Street, sorry, the flag in Aso Rock should actually have been brought down, pending when those guys were buried. That's my personal belief. It happens all over the world. If a soldier is killed in the UK, everything will shut down. There will be no party. There will be no one bed. All the meetings will shut down until the incident have been resolved. And that was what we saw, even with the Chibok girls, where some people were still partying, even when the Chibok girls were gone. And even with other kidnapping incidents, the train kidnap incidents were still going on as if nothing has happened. We need to start becoming human. We need to start becoming our brother's keeper. And what the president has done is commendable. I appreciate him. I respect him for that. And I know many Nigerians have joined me in doing that. And my hope is that unlike the incident of the past that we've heard of, where the military are quick to kick people out of the barracks, that will not be the case with this, with the families of these fallen heroes, and that will set a good example. Because the bottom line is, if an Israeli soldier dies, it goes to his death smiling, knowing full well that the area where he's been killed will know or felt the forces, the power and the might of the Israeli army. And that is what I feel should be happening in Nigerian situation, where if anything happens to our soldiers or our men, and they're working within the rights of what was given to them in the Constitution, then let people know that this is not acceptable and it's not going to happen. So I'm quite pleased with what Mr. President has done, and I'm happy with the way the the military have conducted themselves on this manner. And it's our hope that we will not have a repeat of this again, and that our people will start honoring, our soldiers like we do here in the UK. People should open up their restaurants, give them discount for entering into cars, because they are doing the ultimate price. They're actually going out there to put their life down for us, and we should be appreciative as a society, as a community, as a nation. We should honor people that are living their life just to keep us safe.
Fadani, what have you got to say about that? Because this must be very important for the remaining military personnel who are out there trying to keep us safe, who are out there in the Northeast, all over the country, at trouble spots, and sleeping in the trenches and all of that, because most of them would have been watching to see what the Nigerian government was going to do over this.
Well, I will commend the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for what he has done, especially conferring the national honor on the fallen heroes. So this will be a moral booster to other military personnel in the field, and is a great gesture which I really, really appreciate personally. So, and I hope like the people of Nigeria respect the military, give them the respect that they fully deserve, because like it is not easy putting your life on the line for others while others are like sleeping with their two eyes closed. So it's a lot of sacrifice, and I understand how devastating it can be for the families. Like it is very pathetic.
And of course, there's no question at all that the highest gift that you can give to the souls of these fallen heroes will be to ensure that those who committed this heinous act are brought to justice. So how important is it, Temitope, how important is it to ensure that those behind this are brought to justice, and that justice is served openly for everyone to see?
I think it's very important, and I think we need to use technology to aid, the quick apprehension of these individuals. They use their phones. They will need to use their phones. They will need to use their ATM. So these people can be tracked. They can't. It's either somebody is helping them, or they have enough cash to do whatever they want to do to escape, and it's not possible. If their faces have been flashed all over, people should come out and identify them and report them to the appropriate authorities. But can I also use this opportunity to say to Nigerians, we know that there are some people out there, some officers who will not act in the appropriate manner. No matter what an officer does, obey first and then lay your complaint with the appropriate authority. If a policeman stops me here in the UK and is doing it illegally, I would comply with whatever he says, but I would then go to his authority, to the appropriate authority, and report it. But don't slap policemen, don't hit policemen, don't jack their jackets or their uniform, because that's the Nigerian uniform they are wearing. If they've done something wrong, go to the appropriate authority. We've seen the police doing it. They derope them. They ensure that they are disciplined properly. But we need to stop all this fighting policemen, fighting our soldiers, slapping them on the street. We need to stop all this behavior. Let's behave like a civilized nation. We, before the Europeans came, are a civilized nation, and we should remain civilized.
What will be your final word, Fadani?
For the families of the bereaved, for them to be fully compensated, I think and I believe that justice must be served. Like whatever it takes, and no matter how long it takes, they must get justice, and that is when they will be fully rest in peace.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on the show, and thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. All right, that's it. That's how much we can take this week. But thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.